Whether it's culturally, how you were raised, whatever it may be, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit sometimes to be like, you know what? I am in my bag when it comes to XYZ. I had a student this week, for those of you who don't know, I'm a lecturer. I had a student this week who literally asked me, Racheal, how do you manage to look good all the time? Do you have a personal stylist? And I said, well, hold up. I am my personal stylist. I say this to say, I feel like it's great to allow others to compliment you and, you know, give you that praise. But I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice where we don't actually lean into the fact that I'm really good at something. So whilst it may seem like I'm tooting my own horn, I say this more as a revelation of, I feel like I have information, wisdom, knowledge, and tips to impart on anyone who's in a space where they're trying to find their personal style. It could be, you know, you're in the working world. It could be you've just started college or university. It could be that you just want to revamp how you are known and basically rebrand. Either way, whatever stage or whatever it may be that you want to do, I have 10 tips. 10 easy things that you can do that will allow you to look good day to day. And I feel like it's such a misconception that this can be a thing. But as someone who actually enjoys wearing her clothes and looking good and trying to present myself in a way that showcases my character and personality, I really think these 10 things are things that I've been doing over years that have got me to a position where people can acknowledge that I'm in the fashion space or that I kind of know what I'm doing sometimes. I do get it wrong once in a while. But let's get into it. 10 tips to allow you to feel good and look good day to day. Practical tips that don't involve buying, spending money, anything like that. It's more mindset. It's more working with what you have already. Let's get into it. So I've got my trusty notes all up in my phone, and the first word I have written down is monochrome. When you're thinking about getting dressed day to day, if you want to minimize the decision fatigue, if you want to make life easier for yourself, one of the first things I can tell people to do is go monochromatic. So this doesn't always have to be neutral. I feel like that's a bit of a misconception. I'm a neutral girly, so I'll give the disclaimer there. But this can work for anything. You can wear an all green outfit, an all beige outfit, an all blue outfit, an all red outfit. I think going monochrome is the easiest way to have coherence in your outfit and look good without having to put too much effort in. Start with a piece that you actually wanted to wear that day, or a piece that you're thinking, I haven't worn this in a while, or a piece that you're excited to wear. Start with that as your base, whether it's a top, trousers, it could even be shoes, and build the rest of your outfit around it. Now, yes, there'll be other factors that will feed into that, which we will get into, but I think going monochromatic is the easiest way to have something that looks good, and then you can start playing with silhouettes, and then you can start playing with layers. But start with the basics, start with monochrome, and I promise you it will make life so much easier for you, and you as well will see that your outfits tend to look a bit more cohesive. Second thing, and I just don't feel like we give ourselves enough credit for this individually, stick to what you know. When I say stick to what you know, this is more so, I think, trend related. I'm all for trends. You guys know this is what we do on this channel. I will talk to you about the trends. I will introduce the trends to you, and I'll try and show you how they may be practical and functional within your wardrobe. However, I feel like if you're at a stage where you are rebranding, revamping, or just, you know, refreshing your wardrobe, sticking to what you know is probably the easiest thing to do. And this can go two ways. Sticking to what you know in the sense of don't buy things, pick things, or wear things that you don't feel flattered in, that you don't feel comfortable in, that you know just don't suit your personality, your style, or your mood. Get rid of those things and stick to the things that you do know works for you. This could be certain silhouettes. It could be certain colors. There was a point in time where everyone was talking, you know, the color charts and basically understanding what color family you might sit in. And yeah, obviously I feel like you can flex into different ones, and it just may be that some flatter you more than others. But I think sticking to what you know is another way to, again, eliminate the decision fatigue, but put yourself in a position where you don't have to overthink your outfit. Sticking to what you know can come in different ways, but I think we have to give ourselves the grace of understanding, yes, our style may change, but equally, you've probably experimented or tested a few things that you know you can say absolutely not or absolutely yes to. So I think sticking to what you know is kind of just tapping into, you know what, I don't need to look like everyone else. I don't need to wear all the trends. I don't need to buy all the trends. Sticking to what you know is going to allow your personality and your personal style to shine through. So I think leaning into that is another way to just have that level of consistency in what you look like day to day without feeling like you're doing too much. Kind of going on from that, point 3 would be have a uniform. If you've been on my channel for even a little bit of time now, you will know I say I tend to have my uniform or outfit formulas that I go for. And I know this may be a bit harder actually if you haven't found your personal style, but it could tie in with point 2 where you're just sticking to what you know. For me, when in doubt, I'm going to go wide leg trousers or jeans and a top. What that top will look like is probably where there's a bit of variety in my outfit. And obviously, you know, texture and color and stuff of the bottoms will add into that as well. But some wide leg jeans and a cute top, it could be a cardigan, it could be a jumper, it could be a shirt. That for me is one of my go-to uniform combinations for when I'm just like, I don't know what I want to wear today. The really good thing about having a uniform is, I know I keep saying this phrase decision fatigue, but I cannot express and emphasize how much I feel like that really plays a part in why people just don't experiment as much or just don't feel like they know what their style is or what they want to do. Sometimes we just don't have the capacity to stare at our wardrobe for half an hour trying to work out what it is we want to wear for the day. So if you have your go-to, so as I mentioned, wide legs and a top for me is one of my uniforms. A knitted dress is another thing which I know is just a single item, but on the days where I'm like, again, I don't really know what I want to wear, a knitted dress for me in some way, shape or form is always going to work. Now, the caveat to that is once you find out what your uniform is, once you found your base, then you can actually start playing around with styles. You can start playing around with layers. You can start playing around with texture. So I, for example, could go for something like what I'm wearing right now, a very textured cardigan as a top, and then just go wide leg jeans on the bottom. Once you know what works for you, once you know your formulas, then you can actually start playing around more when you have the capacity to do so. But I think having a uniform, and this could be a uniform for different seasons and settings of your life. For example, when I'm lecturing, I might have 1 or 2 or 3 uniforms that I typically go to and rotate to. And I know I'm saying the word uniform, but let's say formula maybe. And then when I'm going out with the girls, it might be a certain formula of outfits. When I'm going out with Bae, it might be a certain formula of outfits. So you don't have to have like one single one to fit your life because we are dynamic beings and we do a lot. But having your go-tos is just a way to ensure you are looking good in any situation, circumstance, or setting. And I think that's just something to bear in mind. If you have to present, if you have to be in front of people, what do you like to wear to make you feel comfortable? If you're getting real cozy and you're chilling with your girls, again, what do you like to wear and go to? So just something to think about. Point 4, especially in this economy, I know, but it is one to think about, and that is maintenance. Now, this can look different for everybody, but I am a firm believer that you're only going to look as good as possible if you're considering your whole body top to toe. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying everyone needs to get their nails done or their lashes done, their brows done, etc., etc. But I think having a certain standard that you maintain will really allow you to look good on a daily. So for someone like me, yeah, I get my lashes done, my nails will be done, my hair has to be done. Am I doing my brows? No. I mean, my brows are microbladed. If you guys didn't know, I can talk about that at some point, but my brows have been microbladed for years, so it's just not something I have to consider anymore. But that's maintenance that I did years ago that is now still paying off today. So it's an investment. Nails have to be done. I think what I do, talking to you guys, lecturing, being in front of people, using my hands a lot, it's just something that for me makes me feel like a little bit more put together. If you're someone who's like, if my hair's not done, I'm not done. If my hair's not done, I don't feel good. Then this is something that you need to consider. And again, I am not even trying to be tone deaf because I know what the economy is saying right now. But Hans, I refuse to believe any of us are not resourceful enough to find a way to make things work. Whether it's you do things yourself, whether it's you get your girls, because I know we are so talented, we are so skilled that all of us are picking up different trades and different skills. So find one of your girls to do it, find a friend to do something for you. You can get gel kits at home. There are different things we can do to kind of just keep our body, our mind, and our spirit feeling good before we even start putting the layers of the clothing on. So I think that's something for me that makes a big difference. When my nails are not done, I just don't feel good. When my hair is not done, it's just like, it just feels like the outfit is not reaching maximum potential. Do you get my vibe? Lashes I can low-key do myself. I do get individuals, but those are things I can kind of maintain. But I think the key point I want to say here is your outfit and looking good day to day is more than literally just the clothes you're wearing. It's how you're carrying yourself, how you feel about yourself. And so I think an element of maintenance is definitely something to consider. You do not need to go all out. You don't need to go super flashy. It could just be a simple manicure. It could just be having clean brows. It could just be an element of grooming. But I think maintenance is definitely something to consider. And just to tie up that point, sometimes when you do your maintenance right, you really do free up more time in your day. So for me, if my lashes are done, I know that's immediately 10 minutes in my morning that I don't need to worry about sticking my strips on. So yeah, just something to think about. Next one might be a bit niche to a degree, depending on what your preference is, because for me, as someone who is so into jewelry, as you can see, it blows my mind when some people are like, no, I can't wear rings, I don't like the feeling. But jewelry / accessories, I think could fit into this category, although I will stick true to what I was gonna say, and it's jewelry. I think having a simple stack, your everyday jewelry pieces, your earrings, your rings, whatever it is, just adds that finishing touch to an outfit. I, for one, do not feel like my outfit is complete. I literally feel naked when I don't have my rings. So there are just certain pieces of jewelry that for me, I'm like, I have to have it. Now, with that being said, I'm someone who does flex into wearing silver and gold. So this again is very dependent on you. You might like gold, rose gold, silver, white gold, whatever it is. But I think having jewelry pieces that kind of just put the full stop in your outfit is the perfect thing to consider. Jewelry, I feel like, is that it shows that consideration. It shows that you did actually have the time to finish off what you're wearing. It shows that you did consider, you know, what pieces might look good with what. Someone actually asked me to do a video about stacking jewelry and just like how to, you know, maximize making your pieces work for you. So I definitely can touch on that in some capacity. But I'm like someone who's maybe leaning into more of like a maximalist vibe because I do stack a lot. I wear a lot of jewelry on a day-to-day. I've got a lot of piercings and these don't come out apart from these. So I honestly forget how I present to other people when they see me for the first time, because I'm so used to how I accessorize, I'm so used to my jewelry, but these are things that people pick up on. So again, if we're thinking, you know, how to look good, and this doesn't necessarily need to be about what other people think, it's about you feeling good literally on a day-to-day. These are things where I'm just like, it just gives you that moment of pause to say, okay, what jewelry am I going to put on? Do you want something dainty? Do you want something statement? Do you just want something a bit gaudy? Flex into it. Maximalist, minimalist, in the middle, whatever it is. But I think jewelry is literally the full stop to the outfit. And I just think it's a beautiful way to add, you know, tones, textures, colors, and just a bit of shine, a bit of bling. Looking good means that I've accessorized adequately, and I feel like my whole outfit is making sense. Neutrals or complementary colors, make it easy for yourselves. I feel like it's so easy to fall into the trap when you're experimenting and trying to find your style or build your wardrobe to pick things that others may say work for you or you see on others. I always say I'm a neutral babe, and I know it grinds people's gears, but they're like, Racheal, you gotta wear the blues, the yellows, the oranges. And I'm like, no word, I do. However, if I'm thinking about my day-to-day, if I'm thinking about my lifestyle, if I'm thinking about the places that I frequent, it's not to say that I can't wear color. That is not what I'm saying. But again, if I'm just thinking what will make life easier for me to ensure that regardless of what I'm pairing together, matching together, building together as an outfit, it all works, I would say ensuring your wardrobe is predominantly built of neutrals or colors that work really well together. Because essentially all that means is regardless of whatever top or bottom you pick, they're going to work. Silhouette, textures, all of that of course is another level to that, but color wise, which I think is like one of the core things, it works. Now I'm saying this knowing that the caveat to all of it is you pick the colors that you think work for you. When I say complementary colors, I might have different impressions of what that is. You may have different impressions of what that is. But I think that is why the key thing is we're talking personal style. I may not wear it, but that doesn't matter. Wear what works for you. So whatever colors you want to put together, whatever tones you want to put together, I think leaning into complementary colors, tones, and neutrals is another easy way just to ensure you have consistency and look good every day. Because again, regardless of everything else, if those make sense, I think it's hard for everything to look off if your colors are working well. I hope that makes sense. Number 7, I think it's number 7, shoes. Spoke about this in my accessories video. You're probably thinking, who is sponsoring you to talk about this? Nobody. But honestly, I just feel like shoes make or break your outfit. And I don't want to be judgy because this is very much going to be dependent on what you vibe with. But there's an element of your shoes looking good, clean, and fresh that I think will add to this as well. Now, I get the scruffy look. It's not my personal vibe. But worn-in shoes and stuff like that can definitely work, especially if we're talking maybe like boots, leather, trainers. those sort of things. However, my general point here is you need to think about your shoes. Imagine looking good top to toe. You've got your jewelry, you've got your pieces and everything, and then you put on some shoes that just don't make sense. And I say that because I'm trying not to be subjective. It is objective. Well, shoes are subjective, but I'm thinking it's going to be dependent on what your style is. But my point is, you need to have consideration for what your shoes are. You don't need a whole range in the sense of you don't need a super large offering or selection of shoes in your wardrobe. But I think just understanding what your go-tos are. So again, back to the other point, what works for you? What do you like? Are you someone that can wear heels day to day? Do you need flats? Do you need something chunkier? Do you want to give yourself height? Are you flat-footed? Are you wide-footed? These are all things you need to think about from a lifestyle perspective, and then have a range that kind of centers around what your day-to-day looks like, what your preferences are. I just feel like having almost like a go-to pair of shoes just doesn't make sense to me, because different outfits, different occasions call for different shoes. Of course, if you are living quite a minimalist life, then you're probably thinking, Rachel, miss me with it. But arguably, you could still have 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, different shapes, different heights, different colors, that you can still play around with. So I say this knowing I'm very much not a minimalist, and I don't think most of us here are, but I'm just saying you don't need to be excessive, you don't need to go crazy. But I just feel like shoes are so easily overlooked, and I love ugly shoes, so don't even think that's what I'm saying. I love me an ugly pair of shoes because I really do think they give character and style. But just pick things that work for you and don't let it be something you leave last to think about. I sometimes build outfits around shoes because that's just the way my mind works sometimes. Simplify, don't overthink. Point A is basically saying don't do too much. And you're probably thinking, because again, that can be quite subjective. When I say don't do too much, if you're in that space where you are unsure what works for you, if you're unsure what pieces go together, I would always say to strip it back to the basics. When we think about layering to me, if we're talking fashion and styling, is literally an art. To know how to build silhouettes, how to create shape, how to create, just different silhouettes, literally. Layering is a whole thing in itself. So I think if you're in a space where you're just kind of like, I need an outfit that will keep me cool. I need an outfit that will keep me warm. We're thinking, again, practicality and functionality. I think it's important to just simplify whatever it is you're wearing. Don't over accessorize, don't do too much, don't add too much. And this could be from colors, this could be from layers, this could be from shoes, accessories, all of the above. Strip back to basics and then work from there. I think it's literally a case of trying to run before you can, running before you can walk is what I'm trying to say. And I think once you get your formulas, once you get your uniform, once you get the basics, then you can start thinking, okay, how am I going to put this belt into my outfit? Or how am I going to integrate this tie into my outfit? Or how can I do something that's a bit quirky and different? Those are things you do once you've built up the levels of understanding what your personal style is. Because I feel like without those stages, trying to add different elements, different textures, different colors can just discombobulate it. It's going to bamboozle you. And we're talking about simplification. We're talking about things that work without too much thought. And so I think when in doubt, just go to the basics. Speaking of basics, second to last point, you need some good basics. I typically try not to do, capsule wardrobe style videos because I just think they're so nuanced and it's going to be so heavily dependent on, again, your day-to-day, your life, and just who you are as a person. However, there are certain basics that I would say, like if you're a student, going to uni or college, or if you're just about to enter the corporate world, things that I'm like, you need this in your wardrobe. And I say it from a perspective of been there, done that. These are the pieces that I always gravitated towards, or I see a lot of people gravitate towards. So there's some commonality there. I think good basics are going to make or break your wardrobe. And I say that because, especially now that we're in the autumn winter season, having good basics is literally the foundation of a lot of your outfits. But even in the spring, summertime, where you get to see more of the basics or the layers, so to speak, having good quality basics, having basics that fit well, make you look good, aren't frumpy, aren't discolored, aren't ripped, all of that stuff, well, obviously unintentionally. Those are the things to consider. Some go-to brands I can think of off the top of my head. COS is a good one, but I know maybe price point, they're a little up there. Weekday as well can be a bit cheeky with their prices, but you can go to ASOS. I'm trying to think for my US girlies, maybe where you would go. Maybe you guys drop in the comments below, like where does really good basics. But I just think having good quality basics in good colors as well. good is subjective. Picking colors that you know you gravitate towards in your wardrobe a lot. So for me, as a neutral babe, I'm going to need black, cream, and maybe like a brownie, beigey tone. Gray, maybe if I'm expanding that range. But having basics that you know, okay, regardless of what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, where I'm going, I know these items will look good in vast scenarios and different settings. So when I'm thinking, you know, like bodysuits, it could be t-shirts, it could be long sleeve tops, crew neck tops, basic jumpers, jeans and bottoms that actually fit you well, to me are a basic. Like having a really good pair of jeans, a really good pair of trousers or pants, like something that you know that regardless you can dress up or dress down and really work with, I think is so underrated, because bottoms that fit well will just chef's kiss for the whole outfit. So I think basics, yes, we can talk quality, but I think we can also talk about color and just making sure you have a range that makes sense for your wardrobe and who you are and what your preferences are. Last but not least, point 10, low-key should have been point 1. I'm gonna need the Huns to dress to their shape. I am someone who, I hope I've said this enough on my channel for you guys to have thought about this, marinated in it, and just really tapped into it. But please do not get caught up on the sizes. Please just don't get caught up on the numbers and the letters. Like I always say, in my wardrobe, I have anything from maybe not an extra small, that's maybe a bit excessive, but let's just for argument's sake, say an extra small to an extra large. I've got size 8 to size 18. Literally, because when I'm thinking about styling, when I'm thinking about wearing what works for my body and what works for how I want it to look, that's going to incorporate different sizes. I think a lot of us need to let go of the sizes we wore when we were younger, the sizes that we think we should be wearing, the sizes that we see other people wearing. It sounds so like duh, and we're family here, so you know I'm not saying it to be condescending. I just think it's so overwhelming to have all these different voices, all these different stats, all these different, you know, pictures in our faces, that I'm gonna need the Huns to really lean into wearing what works for your body. And this is something that I think we easily overlook, because you could be following people on Instagram, socials, you could be seeing people day to day, it could be people you work with. It's great to admire something on someone else, but understand you need to think about how it translates to you, your body, and again, your lifestyle. Thinking about things like that. But back to the original point of dressing for your shape, your silhouette, and your size. Forget what the numbers are saying. The only number you should be ever checking for is your bra size. Make sure your bras fit well, because undergarments do make a difference. Everything else does not matter. And I think it's about going into store, or at least trying different sizes to actually see what works for you, rather than relying on what you think you should be wearing or what you have worn before. Now, Beyonce did say if you've got it, flaunt it, but sometimes you don't need to, okay? Think about what you feel comfortable in as well. If I'm talking back to my uniform, my go-to is definitely looser fitting items, and I say loosely, but items that don't necessarily hug my body. I love the wide leg trousers. I love, you know, the knits. I may nip in at the waist though, honey, because if you can give me a snatched waist, I'm with you for life. But I think it's just understanding what works for you, what you want to present, what you want to show off, what you maybe don't want to show off. But I think it's the size thing. Like I wrote in my list, literally, dress for your shape, or the exact words, dress to your shape. But I think the size thing actually just seems a bit more prevalent to me. I just hate the fact that, you know, we go into the stores and it's like, oh, I can only fit into a size 14 now. Okay, baby, that's absolutely fine. Do you look good in that 14? That's okay. And this doesn't dismiss the fact that, you know, some of us do want to lose weight, gain weight, change our general physique. But I think it's important to meet ourselves where we are at now. And yes, that might mean having to buy new pieces in the future and change your wardrobe a little bit. But again, if you have the good basics, you have the good foundations, you won't have to do too much revamping. But I just want the Huns to appreciate where they're at now, what their body looks like, and just lean into dressing for the beautiful, amazing, God-given body that you have. Yeah. Okay, honeys, so those are the 10 tips, the 10 things that I want us all to be thinking about in the back of our minds when it comes to basically looking good day to day, because I promise you it can happen. You don't need to be super dressed up. you can be really casual, but I think it's just such a holistic overview of different things that you can consider to ensure that you maintain a standard that makes you feel good. We've gone through the different points, and of course we tie this all in with all the different videos that I show you guys. But in a nutshell, I really do hope it helps give you guys a good starting point of understanding maybe what to pick, what not to pick, what to get rid of in your wardrobe, and maybe what to wear more of. So yeah. There will of course be more videos, guys. If you've made it to the end, if you've made it to the end, leave a magnifying glass, because we are finding our personal style. Or I'm hoping I'm helping you find your personal style. So leave a magnifying glass. Thank you again if you've made it to the end. I hope you have enjoyed it. We go again soon, Sunday 7 p.m. But until then, my darlings, stay well, stay blessed. Good vibes only, and I'll see you soon.